there, and welcome back to my series of YouTube tutorials, games to play during piano lessons. This is game number 4, called Investigation. Show the suspects don't practice scales and stu-dies. This game has to do with advancing the sense of rhythm of your students by using scales, word games, and body percussion in different time signatures. I'm using here 4 different time signatures, 2 quarters or 4 quarters, depending on how fast your student plays the scales or how you like to count, triplets or 3/8, 6/8, then 16ths in 4 quarters to work on our speed, and 5/8, an odd and irregular time signature. Now let's start with the first one. 4 quarters or 2 quarters. Let's sing and count it. Then I'm gonna show a word game and ask my student to create a word game using the rhythm of our speech, and then body percussion using different movements. I'm using this butterfly, tapping my shoulders, elbows, wrists, clapping, thighs, knees, and feet. But you can use other as well, or ask your students to find different body percussions. Now, 2 quarters, 4 quarters. I'm gonna go up counting in 2 quarters, I'm gonna go down counting in 4 quarters. You decide how you like to use it. Now a word game. Let's go find more blooming poppies while you eat them all. You don't eat poppies, I'm sorry. You pick them. While you pick them, I'll eat berries. Ask your students to create their own word game. They don't need to sing it while they recite it, just as long as they recite it rhythmically in that time signature that you've showed them. And it should be easy because you already have tried it, so they already have this rhythm inside their brain, and they just need to transform it into words. For example, let's go out and play with my toys. When we come back, we'll eat ice cream. Just something that I now improvised. Now, body percussion. I'm going to use the butterfly, always right, then left, and my feet. Let's start. What I did at the end, I changed the pattern, I broke it, and I used firstly my left hand and then the right. I'm doing this on purpose, because if I see that a student, it's easy, it should be easy for them, the body percussion. They're always outside playing, they know their body, and they play all day long, so they will probably be better than you at this game. So that they don't repeat it all the same and it actually gets boring or too easy for them. You can see when it is easy for them. Break that pattern, show some different movement. I just switched the order of hands, but you can do another movement to break this pattern. Also, it's very good for them to start differentiating right, left. Now, second time signature, triplets, if you're counting still in 4 quarters, or 3/8, 6/8, as you wish. Let's count it first. I will count it in 4 quarters first. Now with 3/8. Now a word game for it. The sunlight shines brightly through my sleek fur. Ask your students to create their own word game. They don't need to sing it, just as long as they recite it rhythmically. And number 3, let's move on to the body percussion for our triplets. I'm going to use again the butterfly and my thighs. At the end, for the closing, I'm going to use a different movement. Again, improvise with that or ask your student to recreate their own body percussion. Number 3, our 16ths, to work on speed. I'll show in a little bit how to do all those time signatures on the piano. I'm gonna count in 4 quarters, and it goes something like this. Now, a word game. I can't wait for new adventures, dangerous, bold explorations. Bring as many friends you can so you don't miss the fun. This is already from a previous game I've given to my students. Ask your students to create their own. Don't ask them throughout the whole scale, it's too many syllables. You can ask just the first bar that will have 16 syllables. Now, body percussion. I'm gonna use the butterfly, then elbows, then thighs, and then knees. And I'm gonna have my groups of 4s or 16ths. Again, you can play with that, although this is a little bit more advanced because they have to do a lot of movements. If you see that they already are getting it from the second or third repetition, you can change either the order in some groups or the movement in which we stop the scale up. I did my thighs. Or when they go down, they can clap or click, whatever you think, or ask your student to finish it as they like. Now, the 4th time signature, which is odd and irregular, 5/8. I'm dividing it into 3 plus 2. And I almost always use it as an example of a dance where you have 2 steps where I'm showing it first to my students, like mathematically, like rhythmically, it's going to be like that. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, so that you can divide and not getting them mixed up with seeing all those movements. You have a triangle and then the clapping. I like to show it to my students through a dance. So I'm stepping like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And then I ask them, which step you think is heavier? They'll of course say this one, or they'll show my feet, or they can understand that it's the first movement, first step that I'm using. And that's why, because it has 3/8 inside. It's longer in duration rather than the second step that has only 2/8. Now, let's count it so that you can hear how the scale sounds before I show it on the piano. Then a word game. Let's go outside and swim in the sea. That's let me think of another phrase. Let's go and play with my favorite toys. Then let's go inside and have a nice ice cream, yum. Again, I used the same sentence that I used before because now I don't have anything on my mind to translate it into 5/8. Ask your students to recreate their own word game without singing it, just reciting it rhythmically. Now, body percussion for our 5/8. I'm going to use shoulder, elbow, wrist, and then for the 2/8 I'm going to use clapping. So let's go. 1, 2, 3, pa-dum, pa-da-da-da-dum, pa-da-da-da-dum, pa-da-da-da-dum. Again, what did I do at the end? I broke that pattern and I used for the fourth last group of 5/8, I used my left hand. Now, let's move on to the piano. So the first time signature, 2 quarters or 4 quarters. C major scale, the fingering as you already know it. Let's start by counting. 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, while we're playing it, let's sing along some word game that I've already created, or use the one that your student has made up. 1 and 2 and let's go find more blooming poppies. While you pick them, I'll eat berries. Now let's move on to the second scale, which is in triplets, because I'm using 4 quarters. And what I'm doing, I'm only going up the scale and then I'm jumping on my C key, on my first initial key, without going down the scale. Let's first count it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I also like to finish it while jumping on the same fingers, my index fingers. Now, let's use it with our word game. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This sunlight shines brightly through my sleek fur. Now number 3, time signature, again of 4 quarters, only this time we're using 16ths so that we work on our speed. Pay attention here because I'm going to use the same fingers 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1. And why I'm doing that? Because my student has to concentrate on the speed and on this changing. That's why it's better the fingers are the same so that the brain doesn't have to think something extra. It's already quite difficult. Not exactly difficult, just non-common exercise. Let's start first by counting it. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, you see I finished on my index fingers. Let's go down. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here, technically, I like to tell my students that imagine that you're putting salt on food, as if you have like your hand you're an extraterrestrial and your hand is just one hand and it has like 5 different receptors. It's not exactly like independent fingers like the human race has. And you kind of have to touch the key from like different angles. Or if I see them do like something like that, which is, especially with beginners, is very common, I try to make their hand relaxed by just saying, don't make 4 decisions. Make just one in 4 different angles. Make your fingers as if they are very close to one another. Now, let's use a word game for that. 1, 2. I can't wait for new adventures, dangerous, bold explorations. Bring as many friends you can so you don't miss the fun. Fusha, spiky, tippy, and when they come first, follow me. Let's find new places in the forest to play carelessly. Now, the fourth one and last one, 5/8. Here I'm using all fingers in a row because already the time signature is difficult, so I want my students to concentrate on that. I don't want them to concentrate on the fingers. 5 fingers in a row, and we have 4 groups of keys. This is the first group, then the second group starting from F to finish on C, because I'm using the C major scale, then going down, third group from C to F, and the fourth one from G to C. so that I again can use all my fingers in a row. Let's see with the counting. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Again, you can exaggerate with the intonation because it's not a very common time signature. And now let's use it with words. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. This is a good day to lay and wait for 10 flies to land on my sticky worm tongue. Yum! And again, this exercise and piano game for more advanced students, ask them to play all those different time signatures all in a row. But first, show them. Let's start. It's very important for you to count out loud while they play it, to give them a metrical unit, let's say of eighths or quarters. 1, 2, 1, 1, or just say one number, then 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Then the 5/8 is already a little bit different, so you can 1, 1. Unless you can play it very fast and it's just in one number, you can play the whole bar. Like if you played the 16th, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And some last thoughts about this game. I like to use word games and the rhythm of speech because it is something inherent in us. Even if a child or their parents think that they're not rhythmical or musical, I try never to answer this question and just, move forward with the lesson. When you already play with those words and making them in sentences in a specific rhythm, it's already calculated here. Then with body percussion, they can see it alive with their own eyes, especially kids that need more visual stimulations to learn. They've already felt it on their body, so it's much more easier when they move on to the piano or another musical instrument and to recreate that rhythm on that instrument. The only thing you have to help them with is some hand position and maybe some fingerings. That's it. And some last tip, I use scales for these games that have the fingerings of C major scales, and a lot of minor scales also have them, like D minor, C minor, E minor and G minor. Have fun and be on time. See you on my next piano games video.